Welcome to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright. This show is all about honoring you as a spiritual being having a human experience. You are here for a reason, and it's no mistake that you are here on earth right now. Spirit has guided you to this very moment in time, so you could hear the messages Pam is about to share with you. She is a multi-dimensional healer, light language channel, transformation coach, wife and mother, committed to helping you discover the tools and practices to empower you to live the best life you can. You get to choose the spirit path you take. You can connect to the spiritual guidance already all around you. Get ready to live a fully empowered life. This is the Empower Me Show.
Welcome back to the Empower Me Show. This is our first live show after many, many weeks of replays for you. So we are so excited that you've come and joined us today. I'm here with my dear, sweet, beloved David to do this show justice with our topic for today, which is grief, gratitude, and God. Bringing all three of those subjects into one show is pretty massive, but we really have a reason for bringing that all in right now for you.
And I can share that reason with you. About 2.5 weeks ago, my mother passed away, and it was not unexpected. It had been a decline for a while, and then there was a sharp decline after an incident landed her in the hospital. And then we had 2 weeks of waiting and wondering when it was going to happen. And in that time, we had, it was actually a beautiful process. She had time to process. We had time to process. We had time to call people in to come and be with her or send her messages or talk to her on the phone. So it was a good time all around, and it was a tough time all around, and that's where we're starting at. And as way of explanation, that's why we were gone for so long.
Yeah. So grief is its own process. And we're going to talk about that today. And before we move any further into this show, it's really important that we center and ground ourselves into this moment. All of us are so busy in this time of life, in this history that we are creating right now as we speak in 2023. As you know, we've been in such an amazing time since 2020. And it's really, we're getting out of that world of the pandemic, but we are still in it in a lot of ways, and all of the systems are changing and breaking down, and then building, new ones are being built all the time. And with that, knowing that things are shifting and changing and transforming, it's important that we ground ourselves into who we know ourselves to be right this second. So I'm going to do that for you. And if you're driving or you're busy with something other than being able to see us visually, and simply just listen to our voices, listen to the transmissions, and let yourself receive exactly what you need today. So I'm going to start with this beautiful crystal here. This is called fluorite. It's got many, many different colors in it, including purple and green. There's some white in there and some gold, all in a beautiful cylinder, which is my reminder that I am all colors, that I am all light, and that I am all of God within this beautiful stone. And so think about your own body. Think about who you are as a spiritual being having a human experience, and allow your breath to connect into the center of who you are. Just take a nice deep breath in and out. You might even bring a sigh in. We now call upon the creator of all that is, the one who lives and breathes within all things, And we ask you now to come into this beautiful vortex of energy that we're creating now in the Transformation Talk Radio site, this beautiful network, the Empower Me show, and into this transmission with Pam Bright and David Buck. And we now ask that the specialists, the angels of light, the beautiful beings of light, bring Mom's soul into this now. Catherine Rice. We also know her as Yami from our world of being a grandparent. She is known as Yami. So we ask her now to enter into this time to receive from us, receive from the beings of light, receive from all of the sources of sustenance and grace and gratitude and God that can sustain her and sustain us as a collective. And we ask that all of the wisdom that has been shared with us and will be shared with us come through for you today as you navigate your own waters of grief that you might be experiencing with gratitude and with God. Anasiyu, hey, ananaya dehi, unahina, enaye, ananaya ina, onanahi. Ay, 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 oh, na, na, yeah, yeah, yeah. So Catherine, Yami, Mom, used to love when I would sing to her. And one of the beautiful, beautiful gifts that I was given, I got to give to her on her last days. We would come and sit with her by her bedside 2 weeks for her passing. Actually 3 weeks, one in the hospital and 2 more weeks. We got to sit by her bedside and sing to her and tell her stories and pray to God and ask God to help her along her path so that she could find this new life easily on the other side of the veil. And so we got to give her exactly what she was waiting for, which is us, our love, our light, our gifting, our relationship to her. And so we are grateful that we have been able to do that for her. And hopefully we can give you a little bit of gratitude and grace in God as you go along your path where you might be experiencing some grieving of a loved one.
One of the things I found myself saying to someone just randomly, it came to me when they asked what had happened. They said that they were sorry to hear that. And I said, just without even thinking about it, it's just the end. And the end is as important as the beginning. Death is as important as life is because we are defined by our mortality. None of us really know how long we have, and we can't design our deaths. We found that to really be true in this case. There was no control. There was only one guiding force ultimately. But we can design our lives to live them as fully as we can, knowing that there is an end, and we don't know when that end will be. So among the many gifts that I got from my mom was the gift of perspective. And we find that to be very helpful.
Yes, yes. David is one that has taught me about perspective from the very moment I first met him. And he talks a lot about perspective and really changing our view of what we think we know to be true. And there are many different ways to learn perspective and get a new view. And one that I remember really profoundly when I was in a course called Landmark Education, the Forum. It's called the Forum now. It used to be called the EST training. And they talked about the view of the glass that you're looking at. And when one person's looking through the glass, they see one perspective of what they're seeing on the other side. And when the other person is on the other side of the glass, they're seeing another perspective looking through the glass. Sometimes you can't see through the glass at all. What you see is maybe some shapes of the bubbles on the way that the glass looks, or the bubbles of the soda pop that's inside of it, or you might see some of the periphery of the landscape behind the person that you're looking at. It's really about, what am I looking at compared to what you see from your perspective?
What I remember about that conversation is they talked about an elephant. Imagine a person standing in front of an elephant and seeing the giant ears, and relaying that to the person standing behind the elephant who saw the long, thin tail. And the person in front might say, "Don't you see the giant ears?" And the person behind, not seeing it, would say, "You're out of your mind. There's no giant ears, but there's this long, thin tail." And the person in front might say, "You're out of your mind, because there's no thin tail here that I can see. And if I can't see it, it must not be true." But, that really speaks for itself, because there's so much that we don't know, so much that we can't see. And that doesn't mean it's not true.
That's right. That's right. So one of the things that it felt really important to let you know, in case you might be in the middle of grief and not really sure, not feeling like there's an end to the cycle. There is a cycle, and these don't necessarily go in order. That's what we can tell you really strongly here.
Yeah.
But there was a woman that actually found these to be true. I don't know how she found them, but her name is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. That name might be familiar to some of you. Others of you, it might be new. But she wrote a book years and years ago about the 5 stages of grief. Now we know, because we evolve, that things change and they grow. And so different hues of these same 5 might show up for you. You might be in denial about whatever grief you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
You might have anger, and that anger is going to have different stages. Mm-hmm. You might be in fury. You might be in rage. You might be in silent suffering. You might be bargaining with God, bargaining with life, bargaining with your doctor, bargaining with the boy next door. You might be in depression, having everything inside and not being able to express it. And then eventually you get to a place of acceptance. Now, acceptance does not mean there's no pain. Acceptance does not mean that bargaining might not show up again. It doesn't mean that you might have some sadness show up. All of these different stages are part of the cycle of grief that, as every grief counselor will tell you, let yourself have time. Give yourself a lot of grace in being able to just be with whatever stage you're in. And this has a lot to do with life as well. Allowing ourselves to be exactly where we are. And sometimes it's allowing ourselves to be not where we want to be, but exactly as things are.
And I can tell you for myself, and you may find that same is true for you, that I went through all of those stages all at once, back and forth. And what the best part of that was also acceptance. After a lifetime of learning about the value of perspective and knowing that, oh, I don't want it, but it is true, whatever the circumstances are at the moment, and I may not be able to change it. You know, there are things within our control. We can affect things to a certain extent that are right around us, and we can choose our not our emotions, but our actions, things like that. But at the end of the day, at the end of when all is said and done, our control upon the universe around us is really limited. So you have to, I think it's healthy to be able to let go of all that is not within your control. And that really helps you get to acceptance. And, you know, it is, there's never a greater challenge, I think, than in circumstances like this.
That's right. That's right. So one of the things that helps us in our lives when, especially when we want some different views and we want some different ideas about the way that our lives might be going and need a little help. One of the things we do is we do cards. Some people do tarot, some people do in oracle decks, some people just, find a great saying in a book or in the Bible, or listen to a song and hear some inspiration that way. We have a deck that is very different than any other deck that we have. And this is from a woman named, what is her name?
It's one of the versions of oracle decks. They're not just tarot. I don't even know if we have any traditional tarot decks, but
we do
about 50 different oracle decks.
We do. This deck actually is the second deck that she's done. Her name is Deborah Koff Chapin, and she started doing these years and years ago.
And we can show
the
box.
Yeah.
I'll show the box.
I met her actually when I was in a group called the Women of Wisdom.
Soul Cards 2 is the name of this deck.
These are original drawings that she did. They come through her intuitively, and she did all of these cards as is, and there's no explanation for them. A lot of times when you get card decks, the author or whoever created the cards will give you a little snippet of what they believe the cards mean. These are totally intuitive. You get to choose whatever comes out for you. And so David's idea was that we would use these to help you through the grief process and share with you what we have gotten from these cards as they come through us. So David, would you like to pick?
Yeah,
which card is for you?
And for me, when I looked at what deck to include here, I knew that I wanted to honor the memory and spirit of my mom. And so that one is for me, and I will pick one that will be representative of her spirit.
Yep.
And you can pick one that's representative of your connection with mom.
Yep. So I say mom because what's true for me is that she's my mom too. Mm-hmm. She's my second mom. And for those of you who have a connection that's so deep in your life that you can actually call someone mom, that's a very dear gift. Yeah. My mother lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. She has for many years. And I love my mom. My mom birthed me. And she and I have a very interesting relationship that doesn't always include a lot of emotional content. And I love my mom. And when I met David's mom, Catherine, she and I instantly bonded, and we instantly connected spiritually and emotionally. And as these years have gone on, I have gotten closer and closer and closer to her. And so, and she actually thought of the same thing with me and felt like I was her daughter. So it's been a very interesting journey with her and with us, as she has supported our relationship and our family with our child as well. It's been really beautiful.
Now, before we reveal these cards to even ourselves and see what they are, I want to quote a line from a song, and this may seem ironic at first, but I think you'll understand in this context why I do. Paul McCartney and Wings recorded a song called Silly Love Songs. And I think it was a #1 hit in the 70s. And the line in there is, how can I tell you about my loved one?
Mm.
You know, words fail a lot of the time. And for me, this is a picture of a beautiful woman who is blanketing, you know, the side of the card here. We've got a picture of a woman, and she's got her hands outstretched, and it's like she's sending energy that's like a blanket of love. And that is absolutely my experience of my mom.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. Well, the other thing I want to share about David's card is there's a lot of green in this card. And green, Mom loved the earth. Mom loved the water. Mom loved to connect to the mountains and the ocean. And so it's a lot of, and there's light that's coming through as well here. So it's very indicative of who she was physically. And we believe that spirit lives on. And so her energy is definitely within David and I, and in this home. And the card that, interesting, look at that.
Yeah.
So this card is, it reminds me of one of the saints, actually, the saints of old, of the Bible.
Yeah.
And Mom had a very dear connection to the saints in the Bible, and to Mother Mary, and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And there's a halo that's up above their head. And one of the things that I found with Mom is that she saw things. She saw angels. She saw spirits. She was able to do that. And so she would share with me about her experience with that. There's also a lot of green in the background here. And so this green has been known as the heart chakra color now. Used to be pink, then it shifted to green. And so we have a lot of green energy, a lot of heart energy here that is emanating out. And we are dedicating this episode to our mom, and know that we're also dedicating it to you as you go through your grief
You and the
process.
special people in your life. And I just want to clarify, we did not pick these cards before. You just saw it live when we just looked in a random deck. And so the one that now is to represent my mom's spirit and is for her right now is very interesting, because what I see here, there's the thing about these cards, and I'll show it to you. There's a number of perspectives on it, and there's a line. Okay, there's a line on the top. There's a line that looks like it's a tree that's separating the top realm and the bottom realm. And on the top are a bunch of hands that are reaching up. But now I'm going to turn this around because, whoops, it looks like the hands now are reaching down, and because on the top side now there's a face that's looking down, and it's a matronly face, and there's a woman who's part of the tree that's separating it, and it's like there's a veil. It's in the middle. The middle part is representative, for me anyway, how I interpret it, is the veil between the realms right now. And so we are seeing a greeting, and there's no mistake that there's a rainbow behind our heads right now. And so literally Mom is somewhere over the rainbow. One of her very favorite films of all time.
Yes.
What do you see?
Well, another thing that I'm getting very strongly is that David's mom, my mom, and you can adopt her as your mom if you'd like to, especially those of you who have difficulty with your moms. She had a difficult time in life, in her body, And she really wanted to have an experience that was not that, was not painful, was not difficult, was not, she had a lot of depression, a lot of stuff was ailing in her life as far as the physical life on earth as a human being. And yet she had this gorgeous, beautiful, expansive mind and a beautiful, expansive spirit that connected to source and to the angel world and to her dreamscape. Her dreams were amazing. She talked about them often. And this really is a representative for me about the difference, because the woman and the two, actually there's two women here that are on the left, and then the hands are reaching through this earthly veil to the other side. And it really tells me that, oh, she was always reaching. She was always reaching something other than what she was experiencing. How many of you can relate to that, where you're always reaching for something else, right? It's not a terrible thing, right? We want to expand. We want to be more than we are. We want to connect to source. We want to connect to our guides. We want to connect to something bigger than what we're experiencing in this third dimensional kind of drudgery sometimes in life, right? That's kind of my sense about that card.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break for a couple of minutes, and we'll come back and we'll talk about gratitude. And there's so much to talk about in the space of gratitude.
You bet.
Thank you for joining us today and helping celebrate the life of my mom. And we want to celebrate the lives of the people in your life that have passed on as well. Hopefully some of our experience will help you with that. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Welcome back to the Empower Me Show. I am here with my beloved David, talking about grief, God, and gratitude. We are celebrating our mom today. I call her mom because she's my mother-in-law, and David's mom, beloved Catherine, who passed about 2.5 weeks ago, we said. And we had an amazing life with her. When I met her, I was a little scared of her because she had this really awesome relationship with David that I did not understand. They were so close and they got along so well. They were like buddies. And I didn't have that kind of relationship with my mother. So I didn't understand it. And I was a little afraid of it. But I was very intrigued, and I really wanted to find out how they were able to get to this place of connection in a way that, like, mutual respect for each other. It was so awesome to see that. And well, guess what? I have learned from my beloved David and from being in Catherine's life how to have a relationship with someone where mutual respect, mutual love, mutual understanding, and mutual acceptance can be a real part of a relationship together. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how many of you might be going through your own grieving process, and it's not going to look the same as anybody else. And that's something I really want to bring home to you, is don't compare yourself to anybody else and their process, because I can promise you that grief will show up in a myriad of ways, and it is going to look different from year to year, moment to moment, second to second. My dad passed last year in March of 2022. Yeah, it is still 2023. Time is a funny thing. Anyway, so what's true is that when Catherine went into the hospital this time, and something in me knew that this was serious and that this, we didn't know what was going to happen from here, but something inside of me had this knowing. And so I started grieving immediately before she even went into the hospital. And what happened for me is that I started reliving my dad's experience with Alzheimer's. Catherine also had Alzheimer's, and luckily we caught it quite soon after she had it. At least we believe it was soon. My dad lasted 5 years. That's a long time to last with Alzheimer's before he got sick and ended up dying. So I started reliving some of his experience with that, some of the pictures that I saw of his life, and, started having some more grieving of my dad. And it had been over a year since my dad had passed. And the reason I bring that up is because you get to have your own experience of your own deaths in your life. Might be a pet, it might be a family member, it might be a friend, it might be a divorce, it might be a move out of the country, it might be a devastating job loss, right? Grief comes in different ways. Grief happens because we have an ending of something. When we end something, it's important to honor it. Honor who we are, honor who you are, honor the situation, respect it. It's part of your human journey to let yourself experience it. And so with that, I really wanted to let you in on your own experience of these beautiful cards. And so I'm going to pick a card for you, whoever's watching, whoever's listening to this broadcast after this show, and even those that are watching now. And you can, if you're watching, you can see the card that I have, and those that are listening can hear the explanation of that card.
And before you reveal that, I'll bring in an adjacent concept that we really had to embrace very strongly through this process from my mom, and that was divine timing. That part of the bargaining part of a grief is, why is this happening now? Why is this happening to me or them? But in divine timing, there's an interesting twist on divine timing. Everything happens for a reason when it does, and you won't know necessarily why it's happening at that time, but it couldn't have happened any other way. And if you come to believe in divine timing, then I think part of it is accepting that it has always been that way, and it will always be this way, including all the events of your life that had led up to that moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have no control. It doesn't mean your fate is already decided for you. That perspective may help you greatly in achieving some peace.
Yes, thank you for that. Another thing that I really want to bring home to each of us is, this is it. This is what there is. Doesn't mean that life is going to end this moment. But if we live our lives as if this is it, there is no other moment, then life becomes magical. Life becomes something to embrace. Life becomes something to look forward to. We believe that the afterlife is simply an extension of this life. So we have this life in the 3D world where we get to have our experiences. And then we get the before life. I believe before we were in this body, you were in this body, you had a before life. And you will have a life after this life in this body. And so the soul, we believe, lives on. It lives forever. So with that in mind, let's pick the perfect card for the collective. The collective being all of humanity. Wow. Okay. So this is interesting. Again, we have the duality, the two perspective. We have this kind of earthly experience here.
I'll show the card and then talk
Yep.
about.
Yep. Hold on. So we have this earthly experience here with, sometimes it looks a little black, lower gray, right? Or dense. And then we have this color here with all these different imprints. And this human being is laying right in the dividing line between. And
It looks like a child, as we are all children, no matter what our age is, we're still learning how to be in a body, how to be on this planet, how to be with other people, how to navigate between the light and the dark. And this person's nearly in the middle, and they're facing the light. If you look at it, they're slightly more dark than light. I would say 60-40, but the person is turning towards the light and their hand is in the light, and there's something starting to happen in the hand, like you can affect the change of your life if you embrace the light.
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And we shared with Catherine a lot about the process of the transition. What a blessing. What a blessing. I was not able to do that for my dad as much as I had wanted to do that for my dad. It just wasn't possible for me to be in Las Vegas during that time. I was able to do that with mom, to sit by her side, to hold her hand, to love her, to sing to her, to say, Mom, there's a bridge. Mom, look for the bridge. Your family is waiting for you on the other side. Your mom, your dad, your brother. They were waiting for you. Jesus is waiting for you. The angels are waiting for you. That's what's available. And I couldn't have done that for her unless I had gone through that when my dad was in the hospital and we didn't know what was going to happen to him from day to day. And I wanted to connect to him so badly. And he wasn't able to talk at that point.
Well, that was one of the best parts of this process for you. And it's strange at first to talk about the goodness of it and the best parts of it, but really when you bring perspective in, you can reach for that light. And so one of the best parts for you was getting to process through what wasn't available for you to do with your dad, because you got to do it with my mom.
Yes, of course. Yes. And those of you who want to have more of those experiences that I'm talking about, and you do have a loved one that you want to connect to, and you know they're passing, but you want some assistance with that, please get a hold of me, because it's an intimate gift that I was given to be able to help people to do that. And I'm told that it's one of my gifts to give you. And so I want to offer that to any of you who want some assistance with that. But we're talking about you. We're talking about this
Here,
process.
I'll hold this up again.
So what I'm noticing with this card is that if you notice that there is some reddish pink in the color on this body, and it's located on the solar plexus, which is our power center. And it's also going down the right side as well as down into the leg. And our legs move us places. The right side is known in the world of the metaphysical to be our action side. And the left side of our body is known as our receiving side. And so this person that's laying here is allowing themselves to receive the energy from the light beings for their journey into their earthly life. And it seems to me like maybe this could be the representation of a baby just starting out in life. And David and I both have heard and believe that when one being passes and is no longer in a body, they die and they go wherever they go. that a new being is born onto this planet.
And statistically, there are 4 babies born on planet Earth every moment. So in the realm of the unknowable, it is possible that my mom's last moment and last breath then became someone else's first moment and first breath. And we'll never know. But there's some comfort there that life goes on and it does continue. There is constantly rebirth. We're going to take another little break for a moment, just a brief break, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more. Welcome back to the Empower Me Show. We're talking about grief, gratitude, and God today, celebrating the life of my mom who passed just a couple of weeks ago. And I want to say, if you're going through something right now, there's always something going on, and there's personal and there's societal loss going on, and you need some help. Don't try and do it alone. Reach out, find help. There are any number of grief counseling hotlines. There's groups. There's, if you need, there's John Mayer's got a great song, and it's just say what you need to say. So even if it's hard, say what you need to say.
Yeah. And here's another thing to remember. Those of you who are going through grief and loss, hospitals are amazing. Hospice, we got connected to hospice with Mom, and we found that they are superb at assisting with any questions that you have, any assistance that you need, and they often have grief counseling and pastors and clergy available to you. Don't hesitate. Even if you're not connected to a church, let yourself be supported 100%. Do not do life alone ever. That's my 2 cents with that. But definitely when you're going through trauma and a hard time, definitely reach out. There are so many different support systems available now that than ever before. So don't hesitate to reach out. I am available to you if you want some support. I can help you on many, many levels. I have been through a lot in my life, including grieving, including counseling, including all kinds of encounter groups and fire walks, and you name it, I've done it. So if I can't help you, I can assist you with someone that can.
Yeah.
So definitely find out about what you need to. You can find me at brightbutterflyenterprises.com or brightbutterflynetwork.com. You can also reach out here on Facebook. If you're listening on Facebook, to my personal page at Pamela Lynn Bright, or Bright Butterfly Enterprises on my business page.
I do want to share something with you. I found out from one of the nurses that helped us towards the end. And she said that hearing is the last thing to go for a person, generally. That means that even if the person is in a coma, even if they're not responsive, there's a good chance they could still hear you and may be able to process on a conscious level, on an unconscious level, on a soul level, what you have to say to them. So when you find yourself in this position, and it's likely at some point in your life, you will find yourself in this position where you will have to say goodbye and you will have to come up with the last words. Speak them.
Yeah. So one of the best things that we did, David had an intuition to get these books, and I love that you did that so much. Mom, as I said, Mom had Alzheimer's, and so her long-term memory was pretty good, right? Her short-term memory, not so much. But David had the idea to get some young children's books to read to Mom when she was in the hospital.
Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2. And
oh my God, it was so much fun. It brought me back to my own childhood, and
eggs and ham.
It was great. And we got to read to her. She wasn't conscious very much, so it went in there on
Yep.
the unconscious level.
And she smiled,
Yeah. And so anything that you can do to help someone as they transition, however long they have, and help yourself in your own process with going through something, let other people support you. Let yourself be supported. Give yourself the gift of your reaching out to your spirit team. And if you want to know more about Spirit Team, I can also help you with that. This is not a commercial. I'm just simply saying that's what's so.
I want to address it. We've got just a few minutes left, and I want to address for a moment the impossible question, because we talked about grief and we talked about God. And, I think we sprinkled some gratitude in here, but the impossible question is, what am I grateful for my mom? Yeah. And it's an impossible question. The answer is simple. It's my life. But I want to present another perspective on gratitude, because there will be tough times, and asking what you could be grateful for in those moments may help you through those tough times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what's true is that if you can allow yourself to be vulnerable, if you can allow yourself to be seen in whatever way you show up in life, it is a true gift to give someone else. I've had the immense honor and privilege of witnessing David as he's gone through this process. And it is an honor. It is an honor and a privilege to know someone so well that they allow themselves to be vulnerable with you. So give yourself the gift of letting people know who you are and letting God show you who you are. That's the best gift in town.
Thank you for joining us today. Is there anything you want to say about next week? What's coming up next week?
Next week, we're going to start our programming again with new people. So we're going to have William Linville on the show, who is going to talk to us about how he connects heaven and the earthly realms together and bringing what he calls the higher and the lower worlds together with his own journey. And so I'm going to be interviewing him. We're going to be talking shop about that. And he's going to be channeling quite a bit, because I know that's what he does. And then we're just going to continue on that path as much as possible from here forward. So you will see me live from here on.
If you have any questions or requests for healing or particular messages from Spirit, or you want to consider being a guest on the show, you can reach out to Pam at empowermeshow@gmail.com.
Absolutely. So we are so thankful that you tuned in today. And again, your life is up to you. Please make the most of it and know that you're absolutely loved for who you are. We love you a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright on Transformation Talk Radio. Tune in to learn more about living a fully empowered life. Remember that your life is up to you, and you can choose the spiritual path you are on. There is spiritual energy and wisdom in everything and everyone around you. Listen carefully for what the universe is trying to tell you in every moment. You are already being guided along your journey. Call upon your spirit guides anytime you need help with anything. Know that you are safe in every moment, even if it seems that you are not. For more information about Pam Bright, visit brightbutterflyenterprises.com or email theempowermeshow@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. We hope to see you next week.